the way they were doing it, that was illegal. They cannot search a personal computer that come in for repair and get data out of it, and that's what they were doing, and that was illegal.
But the FBI argued that this isn't a Fourth Amendment thing because the person paid some third party to do it, and the third party has no obligation to protect their constitutional rights.
Right.
We as a law enforcement agency.
Well, they probably find a loophole that they're trying to play with it, but it's still illegal.
By the way, just a little aside, one of the biggest times I've eliminated this is this fits encryption lab, and they've got a bunch of engineers in there, kind of like us, and they've received every product that has to be certified from anyone. It just comes in the mail, and they get to unbox everything you've ever seen, and then they play with it, and they certify it, and they go to the website, and they mark it as green, and then they ship it back. So these guys are just the uber geeks. They receive everything from routers, the laptops, the software, the phones.
Must be interesting.
So I'm excited that the Legion of the Bouncy Castle actually certified their Gearshop at 1340-2 library. They went through the whole
Sometimes it takes a long time.
process. And I love the name of their cryptographic organization. Legion of the Bouncy
In this, we have this plus one operating system policy, so you can't run an operating system that's more than 2 versions back. So on a Mac, that means you're upgrading your Mac every 9 months. But it takes years sometimes to get the fix. So there are periods where you can't use your Mac.
Oh my gosh.
If you're a Mac user, it's like, okay, go get a Windows box. No longer allowed on the network, just because the encryption isn't so.
Those are very extreme measures.
It's really,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
So let's look at some key basic concepts of forensics. Every file type has a specific signature. So when we're going to be using file carving tools like Foremost or bulk extractor, they use these hex signatures to identify the files and get the information. So if you think by changing a pornographic image from JPEG to something else and hide the image, that's not going to happen because the forensics software, they don't look at the file extension, but they look at the signature of the file. So every file has a very specific signature to it, and they look at the signature and identify the file from the signature rather than the extension of the file itself.
So one other thing I noticed, to try to make your life easier, the advent of solid state drives. So in the past, your OS X used to support a secure delete function because it would overwrite sectors of the spinning disk.
Yeah.
And maybe back in the day you could pick up
So solid state drive is not
stuff, but not now.
Yeah, solid state. There's a presentation on.
But solid state, it reuses sectors and moves stuff around, so the data's still there. You deleted the file. It's just rewriting somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, there's a black hat presentation that says solid state drives have destroyed the forensics. It's not very easy. Solid state drives are not very easy when it comes to do the forensics analysis.
Well, I thought it would be easier.
No, it is not.
My understanding is they were trying to extend the life of the memory in the solid state drive, so
A lot of
when you write, it
Where
moves to
leveling
another
you're
block,
talking
and
about.
it moves to another block, and it moves to
I
another.
mean, it's solid state drive does not have hard disk type platters, and I mean it's just like a chip, right? So it's difficult on solid state drive to extract data, then because tools are not there yet.
Well, Windows specifically, I assume some of the other OSs have a trim function built in. I don't know the exact details, but it's to allow for it's easier for a solid state drive to write to a zeroed out section. Yes, there is still that need to not write too many bits
To the same set.
to the same
It
sector.
kills the life of it.
But it'll go through, and I know Trend Micro had I know specifically about Trend Micro because we were using them. But there was a couple of other organizations that came out with built-in trim functions into their solid state drives that would just go through and zero out all of the data that wasn't being used so that the solid state drive could write to that location. I forget the actual wording, but it's harder for a hard disk to write to a location that was written to that has like a 1 written to that location. It has to actually write a 0 to it first and then write another 1 to it. Something really
Solid state drive are not, as of now, if you're using solid state drive, it's kind of difficult to perform a good
If I have an
forensics.
encrypted solid state drive, I'm good.
Yeah, for now you're good. For now you're good. So, So there are three types of data on the hard disk: active data, latent data, and archival data. So active data is the data that is being used every day and is tracked by operating system on computers or on system files. Latent data that has been deleted and partially overwritten. This data is not tracked by operating system and it is invisible. And archival data is data on external media like USB, backup DVDs, and all those type of things. So the latent data is the data. So if you delete a file, it goes into white space on your hard disk. It's still there. It's just the file allocation table is
Right.
not tracking it.
Yeah,
It's
because
just
the item
says
gets
but the
made
data is
available,
there.
but the data is still there.
And it goes to a place that's called unallocated space on the hard disk, and that's where that data resides, because the unallocated space on the hard disk is a space that operating system is not tracking. So Sleuth Autopsy toolkit have this tool called bulk BLK-LS that basically takes the image of unallocated space and then carve the data out of that unallocated space. And I have seen a lot of passwords because people have their Excel files and they have passwords on there, and they delete the Excel files saying, okay, the password is gone, and you were able to recover the passwords and other critical sensitive information from the unallocated space of the disk. So if you delete something, make sure you secure erase it.
Is that the same for SSDs and magnetic disks or different?
I have not worked with SSDs in my forensics experience so far, but on the magnetic disks, yes, you can recover.
But if it's a large enough file where it's in multiple blocks, you would
Yeah.
still want to find the header, the beginning block. Otherwise
Yeah,
you
so
can't
the softwares are smart enough to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so if they find the signature of a file, they will basically create the whole file out of those signatures.
If it's a file that's been unlinked, though, it can find that header part with the, and it can
Yes.
go as far as there's a contiguous block.
Yeah.
But the file system has taken that information out of the file system,
Yeah.
so it doesn't know where to jump to
Yes.
get the rest of it.
Yes.
So you can see part of it at least.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
these softwares, they are smart enough to mathematically calculate and create the whole file out of it.
What kind of secure erase utility do you recommend?
Well, Mac has pretty good secure erase feature built into it. Linux,
But not with the solid state drives.
not with the solid state drive. Linux, I'm not sure, but on Windows side, I use secure. There's open source software, secure erase, that I use and delete my files.
I've actually, if you go to Windows, there's those, what is that, system kernels that had that, I think Microsoft
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
bought that company, but they had a tool called S-Delete
Yes.
that just zeroes out blocks.
I mean, the best way if you want to dispose of your hard disk, just take a sledgehammer and just burn it or something.
Stick it in the microwave?
Yeah, stick it in the microwave, burn it, or do something.
I'm personally a
cool.
fan of Derek's Newton Nuke with the Gutman
Yeah.
37 pass wipe.
Yeah,
It takes a while.
yeah.
Nothing's gonna raise suspicion more than you're in your driveway smashing your hard drive.
Just do it, not do it in the public. This is the hard drive and I'm gonna do it.
Take an arc welder to it, or get electrically and,
So this is what we just talked about, file system concepts. Again, they're the files that have been tracked by operating system. They're in the table that is being tracked by operating system. They're file allocation systems, NTFS and HFS file systems.
So from a security standpoint, are there any file systems that are better than others?
I mean, NTFS is good. Linux file systems are good.
It's
Mac
a loaded
is
question.
pretty good.
Good for security forensics or for digital forensics or good
For
for
performance,
counter?
yeah.
digital
Counter
forensics?
with
There are anti-forensics measures that you can take. There are tons of them out there. Just look them up. Encryption is obviously a key measurement for doing the anti-forensic stuff. Most of these softwares, the problem with this, for example, we have this software called, used to be, not anymore, TrueCrypt, right? You open source software that you encrypt, you could create containers and encrypt the information. But what it does is, it stores the password in the memory. So if the computer is not turned off and somebody has used that software, the keys are still in the memory. So when we do the forensics analysis, the first thing that we go is, do not turn off the computer. Leave the computer on, because the first thing that I do is, instead of taking the hard disk image, I first take the memory image right away. That's my first thing to do, because getting the memory image gives you tons of information. Page file also runs on the memory. Other password softwares, when you open up the file, the password is stored in the memory unencrypted. So once you have the access to the memory, you can actually extract the keys, encryption keys, and the passwords right from the memory.
Has the swap file ever helped you? Like you said,
Yeah, it does help. One way to get, let me give you a quick overview thing is, if you're running Chrome browser, right? So when you open up the Chrome in Windows, and if you go to the Task Manager, you see the Chrome process is running in Task Manager. So if somebody's logged in with their Gmail or Facebook or any account, their password is unencrypted in that process running in the memory. All you need to do is go into the Task Manager, right click on that Chrome process, and dump it. So what it does is, it dumps the file, that process files, out of the memory on your hard disk.
That would defeat a Lux encryption thing.
Yeah,
if you
so you take that process, you open up in this file, and do a simple string search on string password. And it will take a little bit of search, but if you know what you're looking for, you can find the user's password that is
It seems like it's a bad practice for how they coded that.
It is.
Oftentimes you're supposed to zero the password. When you
Yeah,
log
they
in.
don't, because it's run in the memory. So you can actually extract the password if you have physical access to the machine, user is logging, and you're able to dump that process. You can get the password out of it.
What if you just have remote access?
Or remote access to it. Yeah, I mean, if you have terminal access to the computer where you have interactively logged into the system, yes, and you're able to dump the process and get the information. Yeah. So persistent data is the data that is on your hard disk, USB, and CDs, and volatile data that we just talked about, that is in the RAM, and you can get tons of information from the RAM. There's a tool called Volatility. It's an open source tool. That tools allows you to, once you have the memory image, that tools allow you to actually get information from the memory, and you can get process information, network information of the systems, and other types of sensitive information out of the memory using that tool. So when we do the forensics using open source, this is from the SANS. So these are the different forensics artifacts that you collect once you have an image. From user communications, you get web-based email, calendar, chat, webmail. So these are the different artifacts and what you can collect for those artifacts doing a forensics analysis of the image. And it also depends upon the type of investigation that you are doing. I mean, if you are doing investigation on a user suspected of child pornography, right? So you're gonna be looking at more focused on his web history. So you're gonna create a timeline, you're gonna document everything, and you look at his web history, you look at what he's searching on the internet. So all that information in the Windows machine stores in the registry, and you can get that information very easily out of it. And I'll show you how to do that. So we talked about host-based forensics, but then network forensics, another thing that is being obviously used in organizations, and that basically talks about looking at malware traffic and other network type attacks that are happening on the network. So there are good tools that helps you to perform network forensics. We're not going to talk about those today, but one of the tools that I usually use is a Security Onion. It's a free Linux distribution. It comes with IDS Snowed IDS installed on it, and some other tools installed on it. So if you have PCAP file, you can do an analysis of that PCAP file in Security Onion offline. You don't have to be connected to the network. You just take the PCAP file and run it through those tools using TCP flows and TCP replays, and point it to that thing, and you can collect a lot of information.
What's the name of that distro?
Security Onion. It's a free distribution.
So you just collect a PCAP file and whatever
A Wireshark or something?
Yeah, it has Wireshark on it.
Oh, does it?
And just let it see if there's any.
Yeah, so what I do usually, so I was a couple of months ago, I was doing Amtrak analysis, Amtrak security analysis. So they have this SCADA network which is isolated from the rest of the network. So they didn't allow us to do any active scanning on their network. So what we did is we plugged in the network on a span port and collect information on their SCADA environment that is going back and forth between trains and control center. So they were very sure that, you know, our network is clean because it is not connected to the internet, and it is just so we were able to capture some packet for about half an hour and ran it through my security onion, and we found stuff that should not be there.
Does Security Onion look for certain signals, certain types of packets?
So it has
certain types
IDS,
of-
snort IDS in it, right? So you update the snort IDS.
Okay, so you just said a snort alert.
Yeah, snort alert, yeah. And it has some other network forensics tools in it that you can use to analyze packets and traffic and look for malicious code in it.
So it's leveraging Wireshark, it's leveraging snort,
It has
pulling together
Bro
how-
IDS in it, it has Snort IDS in it, it has Wireshark in it, it has all the TCP stack tools like TCP flow, TCP replay, all those types of tools are part of it. So it's just, and then you can actually plug it in into your live network. You have two interfaces plugged in into your network, and you can start seeing the traffic that is going back and forth. So usually I suggest my clients to actually have enterprise solution at the edge and looking at the traffic, but for the lateral movement, I suggest to put a box in their network and see the traffic that is flowing inside the
You would
network.
catch something inside of
Exactly.
a particular switch. You wouldn't see that if you're sitting off to the
yes.
side.
So we set up end up setting multiple machines or identify the segments which are critical segments like servers and other things. Set up it over there and see how the data laterally moving and if there's any threat on the network. So it's a pretty good tool. It's a free distribution. Download, play with. You can run it in your VirtualBox environment, and you can do a lot of stuff with it actually.
Is it still true that just attaching a Windows box to the public internet, you know, it's compromised within minutes?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. Even if it's patch, it's not, especially these days with the shadow brokers and WannaCry. You can just. Okay, so tools for forensics, commercial tools are Encase, Forensics Toolkit, HP Gary. So these are major players, commercial players that do the forensics, that provide the forensics tools. I mean, we use Encase a lot. FTK, we use FTK for, you can get a free FTK imager, just download it from their website, and you can use it to acquire expert witness image of the machine to be analyzed into these softwares and open source tools.
Are these also net security onion or?
No, Security Onion is a network forensics tool. These tools are available on SANS SIFT Workstation, which I'm going to show you today. So Security Onion, think of Security Onion as a network level forensics operating system.
I've used Kali before.
Kali is a vulnerability assessment tool. I use that on a daily basis when we do our vulnerability assessment. Yeah.
Is it ethical hacker class?
Ethical hacker class,
We all
yes.
use Kali.
Yeah.
We basically broke into a Windows machine.
Yeah.
One unit for no training.
Yep.
You just fire it up and it's this thing called Metastate and click it with these
Yep.
a remote shell.
Yep.
That's all you did.
Yep. Yep.
Wow. So these
So
tools.
why don't they fix that stuff like that? I don't understand it.
Well, in that case, the machine would purposely not.
See, the problem with the security is not one thing. It's a combination of lots of things. So recently on one of the assignment, we did penetration testing. We were using Kali Linux. We were using a tool called, very good tool if you are into, it's called Empire, PowerShell Empire. It's a Windows tool, and that tool is brutal. I mean, even if the Windows systems are patched, you can actually get into those Windows systems, spawn a shell, and move around in the network and get the domain credentials. It does it automatically.
You said that one really quick. You said there's a distro from SANS.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna talk about today. I'll show it to you. It's called SANS SIFT, SIFT.
So does the firewall settings that just don't respond any connection request, are those still helpful? Like, you know, I
From the
configure my-
network level, yes.
I configure my home router that anybody that attempts to probe, they just don't get an answer.
Yeah.
Like, it's just nothing there.
Yeah.
Or it looks like there's nothing there.
But if somebody, so from outside, yes, firewalls are very good. However, if somebody have got onto your computer, and what are the vectors? Phishing is one of the vectors. So when you open up an email, it has a attachment to it. People open up. You're bypassing firewall at that point. So if somebody open up a phishing email and with the malicious file, it's gonna establish a connection from inside out, not from outside in. So then there is no purpose of
So that won't even protect you from
that
that.
what it won't protect you. Then you're done. So this Empire tool, what it does is it's a PowerShell tool and it runs in the memory. It's not even get detected by the antivirus software. So these are the image acquisition tools. Are FTK Imager is free. Dump it. You can have it on your computer. This is the tool that dumps all the memory contents into one file that you can analyze it after the fact. Linux DD or DDFLC, I'm sure a lot of Linux people are familiar with DD tool that you can use to acquire an image. Manta Ray is a triage tool that is part of the SANS SIFT, and I'm going to show it to you today. So these are acquisition tools, image analysis tools. This is SANS Investigation Forensics Toolkit, which is SIFT. SIFT stands for Investigation Forensics Toolkit. Autopsy, Volatility, Foremost, Bulk Extractor, Scalpel. So Scalpel and Foremost, these both are file carving tools. Bulk Extractor provides file carving, data carving, as well as it has tons of regular expressions that actually go into the system when you run it. It gets credit card information, phone numbers, IP addresses, URLs, everything. It get them out and put in a file for you to look at.
Are any of these useful as like data recovery tools as well?
Yeah, you can use them for data recovery tools. Yeah, definitely. So Foremost, you can use that. I mean, I've used that tool many a times recovering files.
So stuff like the bulk extractor, can you use that for like DLP?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, on a host base, you can actually look for if that host has credit card information or phone numbers or things of that nature. So this is what FTK Imager is a free tool. You can use your laptop actually as an acquisition machine and make sure that the write protection is enabled on the USB, so that when you're recording the image, that USB is write protected. Nothing can be written on it. So.
So the write protected the USB.
Write
you're running
protect-
the tool from it.
No, write protect the source USB.
Okay.
The source drive where you are, of which you are getting the image off of, because you don't want to, not the destination but the source. So this is what SANS SIFT Workstation is, a Ubuntu machine, Ubuntu Linux, and you can actually download the whole operating system with all information in, or if you have Ubuntu, what they have is they have a script that you run, and what it does is it set up your machine as a SANS SIFT workstation, install all the tools and everything for you.
I was just talking about VMware image.
Yeah, VMware. So you can download I have the same thing. That's what I'm gonna run. And Autopsy. This tool, they have a Linux version, but that looks very outdated. It's not very refined. But on Windows, they have refined it, and it's a great tool to perform forensics analysis, data recovery, and looking at when you're processing the data, you can specify keywords. So for example, if I'm looking for a case where a person involved in child pornography or whatever, I can specify keywords like porn or child or things of that nature. And while it is processing the image, it's also checking for those keywords, and wherever it's going to find those keywords or email addresses, it's going to bookmark those things for me to look at really quickly.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So, this concept of forensics, so what you're talking about is like you will work with law enforcement to provide evidence, something specific that they're looking for.
Yeah.
So that's what these tools.
Yes.
Okay.
So
There
forensics.
seems to be a fine line, at least for me anyway, because I'm much more familiar with the others. There's penetration testing, which you have the same skills to do,
Yeah.
right? Do you get involved in that too?
Penetration testing? Yes,
Yeah.
that's what we do. So we
So your company does both?
yeah, we do both penetration testing, vulnerability assessment, and and forensics work. Yes. So we do the most of the work that we are doing in forensics is with the gaming industry, which is lotteries and casinos. We just had a big case in Wisconsin where the guy was he skimmed about $15 million off of a lottery, and that guy was actually the ISSO in that lottery, and he was able to inject code in the random number generators into the lottery, and for 5 years he knew every Saturday and every Thursday he knows what numbers are coming up.
I love these.
So what happens is that, and because lottery people are not allowed to play lottery if they're working for the lottery,
I see.
so this guy actually, and there's already the random number generator machines, they go through a rigorous process of validation, and this guy somehow was able to inject a code, a DLL, into that thing, which was generating numbers that, but he got caught. He got caught.
DLL, so they were using a Windows machine to generate those
Yeah,
numbers?
yeah.
Oh, is it first system?
Yeah, they were using Windows machines. Yes.
So to summarize what I was trying to figure out is what kind of bucket is in your area of expertise. You have forensics experts,
Yeah.
intrusion or penetration testers.
Yes. Yes.
And then you have what, like security, vulnerability assessment.
So penetration testing and vulnerability assessment people are the same
Are there
thing.
other areas or?
So the main 3 areas that we focused on is providing forensics, and then vulnerability and penetration testing. So the difference between vulnerability and penetration testing is in vulnerability assessment, we go in, we assess the system, but we do not exploit the system. So if we find a missing patch or something like that where we can exploit, we don't exploit that. It's not allowed. It's written in our rules of
Just give
engagement.
the CIO
Yes.
reporters.
Yeah, exactly. In penetration testing, the same process of vulnerability assessment, but a step further where you are actually exploiting the system, getting into the system and doing some damage, or getting data out of the system.
Why would somebody want you to do that?
Why would somebody? Because they want to know.
They just really wanna
They
know.
want to know, and because it's better we do it rather than a hacker do it, and they become into the Washington Post or whatever. They don't want to do that. Yeah.
Did you look at any of the recent things that were released, like the CIA tools?
Yeah. Yeah.
So were these well-known things, or were these things that were really esoteric and what they?
Well known. What do you mean by well known? I mean those.
Like outside the classified community where people.
No, they were not. I mean, actually, this WannaCry and those, especially the recent one, which allows SMB authentication without any username and password. It was so big that Microsoft even released a patch for Windows XP for that system. So that thing that a user can authenticate to a Windows machine without SMB username and password is a huge deal. It was huge because you can access a machine. You don't need to know the password. You don't need to know the username. You can just access it through that port 445 and you're into the system. So that was not known, but it was there.
The thing I find crazy about that is I have a security clearance, so I was specifically told, do not look at any of those tools. Do not look at any of that stuff
Yeah.
that we publicly
Yeah.
reference.
Yeah.
And it seems like those are the people you probably want to know these things.
I was consulting with federal government when.
Same thing happens with WikiLeaks, right? Every time there's a WikiLeaks announcement, arrival, it's like,
Yeah, that's what I.
WikiLeaks
Yeah.
website.
Yeah.
So then I just wait till I get home.
Yeah, I was with I was working with. Yeah, I was working with HHS at that point when WikiLeaks came out, and we got a notice. You're not allowed to open up WikiLeaks at work.
One of the sort of unethical things I think the CIA is to want to try these other things kind of brought to light is that these intelligence organizations around the world, they're basically creating databases of known vulnerabilities that only they know. So they're
Yeah.
actively testing against Windows, and when they find a vulnerability, they don't tell anyone, and then they just sit on it, and that's kind of bad, especially when it gets sold.
Well, not only that, but from your standpoint, the government's at war with itself, because you're
Yeah.
trying to secure systems from penetration, and they're trying to find ways to get in, and they're not sharing information, so.
Yeah, and it's not only the government that are doing it, the hackers all over the world, they are doing it. Technically these are called 0 days, and these 0 days there's an open huge market for selling these 0 days.
But this, I was saying it's unethical because
It is
our
unethical, yeah.
taxpayer money is
Yeah.
basically collecting a bunch of 0-day hacks in some database.
But
right
go-
down
government
20
has
miles away,
their-
and they're not releasing it exactly.
Yeah, they have their own arguments.
We're
Everything is legal under national security umbrella, so you cannot do anything about it.
But you don't have a security clearance, you don't legal for your job.
No, I had public trust clearance. I never worked in DoD side, so I work in the civilian side.
Dude,
So,
you're better off.
They can-
so Autopsy. The Silhouette Kit has different tools. Timeline analysis. I'll show you how we can do timeline analysis. Timeline analysis is a pretty neat way of looking at the data, where you are seeing when a file was created, when a file was deleted, and when the file was accessed. So all those things and the whole activity of a user, you can look at it doing the timeline analysis of an image once you get it. And there's a tool in SANS SIFT Workstation. It's called Log to Timeline. It's an amazing tool. You point it to an image, mounted image, and run through it and create a CSV file for you, and then you can just slice and dice it however you want it. Hash filtering, keyword searching, we talked about web artifacts, data carving, multimedia. Yes.
There's a Linux tool called EXIF tool
Yeah.
that also pulls that will also pull metadata from sound files as well
Oh, okay.
as pictures. So you can apply EXIF tool to like a WAV file or
Right.
an MP3 or something,
I know
and
that.
get metadata from it, just like it were, even though EXIF is like image.
Yeah, image.
A
Photo.
lot of the Windows formats, those are just sort of like layered things.
Yeah.
You familiar with the National Software Reference Library?
Yeah. And RSL. So we use that tool to get the known hashes.
It's one of those data sets. Like
Yeah. So it's a huge data set. So we have that data set, and Autopsy actually, this tool is compatible with an SRL hash set. So you download it, upload it to the database, and then you can basically cut down your work in half, because these are good hashes, so these files are good files.
It's another fun job. This is always worth this. There's a software museum where every piece of software is made. This is their mission. They want to receive it, shrink it, and then they do checkzones.
Right.
And then put it into the disk. So
Nice.
40 million or something. And I guess the reason is because when you scan your computer against that, you want what's not in the NSRL. Anything that's not in the NSRL is something that you want a forensic investigator would want to review.
Yeah.
It's like finding a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
But
So
you
so
guys keeping up with all the open source releases and things like that yourself?
So yeah, these guys, they have a fun job. I mean, they're playing video games, they're installing operating systems. They have to make sure the software works before they can do this.
You're gonna get applications all over the place.
So when you fire up Autopsy in Windows, this is how it looks like. It looks at recent so this is called the Ingest module in Autopsy. So once you point a forensics image towards it, what it does is it looks at all these artifacts and make it available for you to look at, and does the analysis.
So if you had an image of an Android phone, you could run this against it? Or
I'm not sure if it supports Android image.
It just says Android.
Oh,
that's
the
the
new
only
one.
reason
Yeah, so yeah, it
that's
does
the only,
that.
that's what caught my eye.
Yeah,
where you-
yeah. Bulk extractor, we're going to look at this tool that we talk about. It just pointed towards the image, and it will, using a regular expression search, it gets a lot of information. It finds credit card numbers, domain, email, Ethernet addresses, hibernation files, exif data, telephone numbers, all this information. You point the tool to an image, and it will find all this for you. You don't have to
Is
worry
it known
about
to
it.
known locations in the registry? What's it doing out of Windows?
So this one, it looks at the file as just the data and running regular expressions that are pre-built to find this information. And
So these are
yes,
potential credit card
yeah,
numbers. You don't have to
potential.
know.
It might not be correct, but potential.
So anything that's got a metadata field or a magic number or something
Yeah.
like your regex for that, and put that in the
Exactly.
database.
Yeah, and it comes with all these regex in there already. So But if you're good, I'm not good in regex, so I don't know how to write one. But and then it has this GUI interface, which makes job much more easier. So this is the log to timeline tool. Oh, it's not clear over here. So let's dive into the
Who's doing sort of like mentoring with young people? Because I'm going to a kid's graduation party today, but you can go to Penn State and study security, forensics, things like that.
Okay.
So that's really what he wants to do.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Is it okay if I share your email with him?
Sure.
You give a card.
Let me see if I have one. I don't have it. Do you have it?
Yeah. I'm always looking to help as many people out.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. So I'm actually booting the SANS SIFT workstation right now. So hopefully it boots.
How did you get into this kind
I've been doing it for the last 15 years. Very natural progression. I did my master's. I started as a network guy, system administrator, system engineer. Then got into security engineering. Got my CISSP in 2003, and then from there just progressed to security analyst, and now doing mostly consulting work.
So some of the folks I know in that industry, they're really good with music. And they said there's some sort of correlation between being musical and being good at security.
I don't know.
The
I do
mathematical,
play.
association, maybe.
Yeah.
I do play flute, so I don't know if that But I'm not sure if that is a correlation. But I'm not good in programming at all. I cannot write a single line of code. I hate programming. Sorry.
While you're bringing that up, you were talking about one tool earlier. And it is too bad that Matt is not here. He's a leader of the Python group. The volatility tool is in the Fedora repository. It says Python volatility,
Yeah.
no Arch. So it should run on anything, So
Yep.
install it, play with it.
So this is the SANS SIFT workstation. This is what it looks like out of the box. Once you install it, it's there. So it has all the tools built into it, and you see that it already put two directories over here, cases and mount points. It creates for you. So in the cases directory, if you have an image, you can just put it in there and then work off of that from here. So in this case, I have this image of Mr. Evil, who has done something evil on the network, and we went in and we got an image, and it's a Windows machine. It was a Dell laptop. So Mr. Evil was accused of doing wireless hacking on the system. Yes.
So you mentioned some restaurant directory. How do you print these images?
So you can use FTK Imager as a software, and you can have your laptop. So you have two USB. So one hard disk in a USB enclosure connect to one side. On the other side, you have another hard disk where you're taking image off of.
So this is something like you have in your bag.
Yeah, but FTK Imager is a software-based solution. But what we use is we have this dedicated machine. It's called a small thing. It's called Tableau. It's a device that is designed just to take the image and does nothing else. It just takes images. So it comes with a big box and has all sorts of cables to connect all sorts of hard disks to it. And you connect another destination, run it, and it will take the image for
Who
you.
manufactures these devices?
Tableau. It's a company called Tableau.
The business analytics company?
It's a hardware company that develops these devices.
So no one uses Clonezilla or anything like that?
No. Clonezilla is not a forensics because these devices they take bit by bit image of the image, so everything.
They're specifically built not to have any way to actually communicate, to write back to the source disk.
Yes.
Like
So
they're
these are
certified to only read from the source disk, whereas Clonezilla could potentially
yeah.
write to the source
A lot of the
disk.
write blockers operate by.
certifies the bugs are tamper-proof.
These guys. Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, so the government has standards where there has to be like physical evidence that the box is open, or different things based on what level of certification it has.
Yeah. So you can actually find the list of approved devices on NIST website actually. Okay, so we look at it. So let me look at it. I have my notes over here and see Fred.
Passwords just passwords.
It's involved in that.
So look at this case. So we look at this case really quick. So on September 20th, 2004, a Dell CPI notebook computer serial disk was found abandoned along with a wireless PCMCIA card, an external homemade 802.11b antenna. So it is suspected this computer was used for hacking purposes. Although cannot be tied to a hacking suspect, Greg Short also goes online nickname of Mr. Evil, and some of his associates have said that he would park his vehicle within the range of wireless access point like Starbucks and T-Mobile hotspot, where he would then intercept internet traffic, attempting to get credit card numbers, username, and passwords. So find any hacking software evidence that use and any data that might have been generated. Attempted to tie the computer to the suspect, Greg Sharp.
That would be like what the way the warrant would be written also.
Yeah.
Because this
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
this is why
Yeah.
there is a warrant for this person,
Yeah.
a warrant to search for those things.
Yes. So this is a sample case. I mean, you can download these cases, and I've in my presentation I provided the link, so you can download these images, play with it, open it, and you can do whatever you want to do with it. So during a forensics investigation, they ask different questions, and like, what is the image hash? What operating system was on the computer? When was installed? What is the time zone? What is the number? What is the computer account number? So these are all the questions that they need to be answered. And we're not going to answer all of them, but we're going to see how you can use tools to answer these questions. So the first process is that we have the image. So we have been through the process of acquiring the image, and we have the image, and the forensics image is in this directory on a SANS SIFT workstation. So E01 format is called expert witness format, and it is generated by the tool FTK Imager. So we know that this image is being generated by FTK Imager, that there's DD format and there's a couple of other formats. So E01, E02, or E01 format is called the expert witness format, and it's being very common in forensics circle. And that's what they take the image. So now we have the image on our workstation. So let's see what we can do. So the first thing that we need to do is
Everything on the screen here is within SANS SIFT.
Yeah.
This is everything on there. Anything that you see is going to be SANS SIFT. That's a question. That's just for confirmation.
Yeah, that's how these distros work.
What's that?
That's how these distros work. They put all the tools into them so that you
No,
can-
no. I was just asking about the display. That what we were seeing is everything is the VM that's in there. So in other words, all those icons on the side are within the SANS SIFT app tool.
So this tool, as I said, comes with all the forensics tools on it and all the scripts and everything. So we don't have to worry about anything else. So we have the image. Now how are we going to look into that image? So we have to mount the image first to see what's in that image, because right now the whole computer is in those two files, and I cannot open that file right away. But the first thing is we need to verify that if the image is correct. So as we know that if you look at this question, the first question is, what is the image hash? Does the acquisition verify hash match? So this is the hash image. Okay, so let's see that if this image is verified. So if I type EWF expert witness file, so these are different expert witness file tools that are part of SANS SIFT Workstation. EWF acquire, debug, EWF info, EWF recovery, EWF acquire stream, export, mount, and verify. So the first step is to verify. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run EWF verify, and I'm going to point it to that file that's in the directory, E01 file. There are two files. So there are two files because they're split image. I can take one big image, or I can split the image into multiple files. I have this option when I'm taking the image. So once I run this tool, it's going to go in, it's going to take some time, and it's going to verify that image to make sure that the hash of the image matches to what it was at the time of acquisition of the image.
The EWF tools are scripts within SANS SIFT.
Within SANS SIFT, so you don't have to do anything, it's just there, you just need to use them.
Notice some of it they've mentioned is a Python script, so a lot of it is written in Python.
Yes. Yeah. So these are all Python scripts actually. Yeah. So now it went in and verified the image, and it says, if you look at the result over here, it says MD file stored in the file is this. And if you look at it, it should be, or it must be the same to this 959A. So if I minimize it, 959A. So it looks like it's a match. So we verify that the image that we acquired is the same image that we're gonna be working on. So after the verification that we have verified the image is the correct image, the next thing is we're gonna be mounting that image. So as I mentioned, that SANS SIFT has two working directories. One is the case directory, and one is the mount directory. So if you look at the mount points, it comes pre-built with these folders in it that allows you to mount different type of images into these respective directories. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be mounting this thing. So the command to do that is this. I'm gonna again run this EWF mount EWF.python, and it mount the image as DD file in this directory /mount EWF directory. So I'm gonna I'm still in that directory where the images file are located. I'm gonna say mount, take the first file. The tools are intelligent. If there's multiple files, you just point it to the first file and it will automatically mount everything. So you don't have to mount E01, E02, E03. You just point it to E01 and it will pick up E02 and mount it correctly. And I'm gonna mount it to EWF folder. So now it has mounted. So if I do you can see that EWF1 file is there after the mount. So okay. So in order to mount the file, looking at the partitions, Sleuth Toolkit has this tool called MMLS. MMLS is a tool that is originally used for looking at the partitions and creating partitions, but we're going to be using that tool to calculating an offset on the partition. So if we type MMLS so I point the MMLS tool to the directory where I mounted those images, and I said, show me what it is. So it is telling me that this is a primary table from sector 000 to sector 62. This is unallocated space. We are not concerned with that. But what is concerned to us is the third line, 02, which is starting sector is 63, the end sector, the length, and the description is NTFS. So we know that the data is reside on NTFS partition. So in order to calculate and look at the byte sector side is 512 over there. So in order to calculate the offset, we multiply 512 to the start sector of the NTFS. So in this case, we're gonna be multiplying 512 multiplied by the start sector of NTFS is 63, and we get the offset of 32256. So this is the offset that we're gonna be using. So now we know the offset, which is 32256. Yeah, partition. So we're gonna be mounting the drive from that offset, and when it's gonna be mounting from that offset, it's gonna show all the contents of the NTFS partition to us. So in order to do that, the command to do that, the next command is this mount command. So what this command is doing is it says mount, and with the options read only. RO is read only because I want to mount this file system as a read only because I don't want to make any changes to this file system. Loop offset is that we just calculated 32256, which is 63 multiplied by 512. I want to see system files, stream interfaces, windows. I know the file system is NTFS, so I have to type with T NTFS, and I'm gonna be mounting /mnt/ewfc/, which I already did using the mount ewf script, to the directory, actual directory, which is mnt windows _mount. So all the contents of ewf file 1 are now going to be mounting in this directory. So I just hit enter and it is mounted. So now if I do a quick check on this directory, I'm going to see all the Windows directory structure in this file.
Just like you were on his laptop.
Yes. So I have mounted the Windows file system into that directory. So at this point I have access to all the files on that computer. So this is the first step. Now I can perform forensics analysis on this system. So the most, so as we all know, Windows has registries, and it has registries like system registry, it has software registry, it has users registry. So we can actually parse those registries individually and get information out of it. So the first tool I would like to use is called RIP. It's a Perl script. It's called Reg Ripper. So Reg Ripper is a tool that is designed to analyze Windows registry. It goes into the registry and provides you information. And it uses that by way of plugins. It has about 300 or so plugins that it can use. So if I type reg.pl-l, RIP, not reg, sorry. So there are 312 plugins in this tool, and it provides a lot of information about the system. And for each plugin, you notice in the bracket it tells you what this plugin looks for, or which part of the registry that specific plugins work in. So you have system plugins, you have software plugins, you have user dat plugins. So let's pick one.
Can you text search that for something that's specifically that you're looking for?
Yeah, I actually exported it in this file for me to easily
Yeah, there
search
you
for
go.
it. Yeah.
Or you can just grep through it.
Yeah, I tried to grab through it, but it shows a lot of information. So, for example, I need to know how many times this system was shut down. Okay, so I know the plugins is gonna be looking this information into the system hive of the registry. So what I need to do is I first need to go into the directory where this system file is, and in Windows I know we just mounted it, so we're gonna be seeding into mnt Windows system 32/config. So I'm in that directory where all this, if I do a quick look on it, I can see all these hives, security hive, software hive, all these things are in here. So I can just point that Reg Ripper to this thing and I can get that information. So I first need to do rip.pl-r to recursively look at the thing, and actually our system, because we're going to look at the system hive and we're going to be looking at shutdown count. So it goes into the registry and tells me the information that when the system was shut down, and total count of shutdown was 5. It's telling me the system was shut down 5 times since the image was acquired. So we can look at other plugins. We want to look at what type of network cards this system has. So we can, because we know that in order to find that, we have to look at the software key, because it's looking at the drivers. So I just change this to software, and I'm gonna say network cards, and I'm gonna change the plugin to network cards. So now it's gonna show me all the network cards that were ever attached, that were connected to that system when the image was taken. So I get all that information from here. So we know that this guy was connecting a wireless card and try to sniff the traffic. So we want to know which SSID is he connecting to. So
If somebody use something like Reg Ripper, one of those tools, would it hide some of this?
no, no, because these are hardcode information. These are the information about the system. Reg clears the metadata, not the actual data.
So this actually captured unique identifying numbers out of the hardware device.
Yes. So I want to know what SSID this guy was connecting to when he established the wireless connection. So this is part of the software hive. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be looking at software hive, and I'm going to just type in the plugin that I'm going to use is SSID. So this will tell me that this guy connected to SpeedStream. That is the SSID that he was connecting to at the time when we captured the image of the system. So that recent docs. Where is that? Recent. Okay. So I can get recent doc information. Those are the docs that he recently was working on his system when we acquired the image. But look at that, it has to be into ntuser.dat hive that will provide us with that information. So I need to change my directory, go back, and I need to go into his profile. That's where ntuser.dat file is located. And from here, I'm gonna be running rip.pl-r, and it is
So your command line isn't case sensitive, apparently.
no. Ntuser not found. I'm doing something wrong. Okay, there's something. Okay, so this is so there is a tool called Auto Ripper. So Auto Ripper automates this whole process rather than I go in, and it's a Perl script as well. You can download it from their website, and you just point the Auto Ripper to the directory, and it will show all of it automatically and create a file for you. So rather than me going each and every plugin and doing it, so you can
Then
actually
you can search the result file for what you were looking for.
yes, yes. So it can do that for you. Next tool we can look at is bulk extractor. And the bulk extractor is this tool, and if I want to analyze the whole file, what I need to do is specify the image file. The image file is the file that is the forensics E01 file. So I'll just tell it to go there and select this file, just first file, and specify the output directory, and then run it. And it will look at the scanners, look at this side, it will look for all of these information for you in that image file and parse it out for you. And these are what they have, all the reg expressions for these components as a part of it.
There's a bulk extractor.
That's bulk extractor. So bulk extractor you can run it from command line, and this is the GUI interface, and that makes it much more easier. And you can set up different options over here. If you want to, if a big image and you want to increase the number of threads and everything, you can do it from here. It takes some time. I already ran it. So once you run it, it gives you information like this. So you can see all the AES keys. It found those domains it find all the URLs in that system, and if you click any of them, it will provide you detail of that information. Domain histogram. This one shows how many times a domain was being used or discovered on a system. So you can N33902.7.3, it might not be accurate, but yahoo.com was being used like 929 times on this system.
So could I make the assumption that most counties in the U.S. have police policemen that do this for a living?
Yeah, yeah, they do, yeah.
Does Frederick County have a side?
I'm not sure about that, but police department, they have forensics units that does this type of work. And usually what they have this kit with them, so whenever they go on a scene and that kit has image acquisition tools in it, they just plug it in, acquire data as much as they can, and then bring it back to lab and start doing the analysis. And they use mostly commercial tools like Ingest. So this is these are all the email addresses that were discovered. Ethernet addresses, email histograms, how many times one single email address was discovered on the systems. You can see this histogram over here. Any telephone numbers, his telephone histogram, URL search text, what he was searching. That was all.
Capture information that gets exchanged through, say, plugins like LastPass or Chrome.
LastPass is good in a way that it encrypts the data. So you might not be able to get information. However, if the person has, I think you can save the passwords over there, and if your password is saved, there is a chance that you can recover the master password and then log in and then use it.
So if the person has saved a master password through the plugin,
Yeah,
that would be
there might be a chance that. I've never done it, but it can be done through the process trick that I tend to dump the process off the browser, because LastPass runs in the browser itself. So if you can dump the image off the browser, there's a way you can look at it. I've never done it, but it might be a possibility.
Is this a result of the regexes you were talking about
Yes,
earlier?
so bulk extractor has built-in regexes. It runs those regexes and carve that information out for you.
If they ran like a clean history or something on the browser, like Chrome or Firefox, there's a lot of situations.
So yeah, so Firefox stores its data in a database, it's a SQLite database. So you can actually, Firefox has a built-in SQLite plugin. You can download and connect to the database, and you can still see that information.
Even if they clear your history?
Yeah, it's there. It can be recovered easily. Yeah. So this is the information. Once the tool runs, it gives all that type of information and gives you. Oh, registry always get bigger. Yeah. And there's a lot of orphan entries in the registry. Even if you use CC Cleaner or something like that, they are good, but they're not that good that they get rid of all those orphan registries. They're still there. I mean, they're not doing anything. They're not connected to any software. They're not, but they represent that they're there.
So when you give somebody using Tails, they're doing something, they're running virtual machines just in the memory and that's where they're running the hard drive.
So that's an anti-forensics measure. So if somebody is using Tails and they have it on the USB,
Secure
cannot
like
do
the
anything.
image and
Yeah.
it's gone.
I mean, you can always say, hey, they were doing this. They were
yeah,
using
so
Tails.
it raises suspicion that why they're doing it. So you probably not be able to recover data from there because it's running from a USB, and USB might be encrypted and they might have erased the USB. But
Well, Tails is the read-only, it only
Yeah.
writes to a memory image.
Yeah.
It never
Yeah.
imports anything.
yeah, but if you're able to get the memory image at that point, you might be able to get something
It's
out
all
of
very
it.
fully fed
Yeah.
out of the computer.
Yep. Yep. Well, again, it depends. A lot of things have to be checked. I mean, if the person is smart enough to shut down his machine, then the chances of getting good information decreases over time.
Do you ever have to go to like modems or Wi-Fi routers, or is there anything recorded in there that could help you?
I have never done that, but that's part of the network forensics piece where you do the network forensics. But like this guy connected to a network called SpeedStream, so we know that this is what his ID. Again, and we also, from the registry, we can gather all the information about the USBs that he ever connected to the computer, because all the USBs, once you connect, they made an entry in the registry. And each USB has a specific UUID, and you can actually trace the USB through that UUID.
Well, that's Windows, don't worry. What if it's a Linux laptop? Does it record all the same information?
It does. It does, and this tool has I'll show you the log to timeline tool that generates timelines on Linux machines, Macs, and Windows, all three of them.
It's easier to say do, if you do some kind of forensic investigation using this kind of tools on a Windows machine comparatively. I mean, do you gather more information from a Windows machine versus say a Mac or a Linux machine? Is it about
I mean,
the same?
it's about the same. It depends. I mean, we are looking for. So, for example, if it's I've never done much on Linux side as in terms of forensics. I use Linux machines to perform forensics, but never done any forensics on Linux machines. Maybe a couple of times, but most of the time, what we did is we tried to recover web history, browsing data of a user, what he was doing on the internet.
That's the same. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is the bulk extractor tool. Okay, so next let's look at how we can generate a timeline from of user activity. So in Windows there is there's a thing called MFST, file system table, Microsoft File System Table. So even if you delete the file, even if you secure erase it, the MFST file is the database file that still keep a record that the file was ever existed.
Does like a little sign of
Yeah. So even if you secure erase a file from your machine, the record that the file was ever existed is still in that database, because that database, MSFT database, does not get deleted. It grows, but it does not get deleted. Nothing, it just writes to it. So this log to timeline tool goes once, because now I have the image, it's not running, the MSFT file is unlocked, so I can access it. It generates the table from that thing and shows you what happened. So let me just quickly generate that. We still have a few minutes. So so the command to generate this thing is this. So what is that?
What's going on
It's a art festival, I think, something. So I'm gonna just create a directory timeline. And I'm gonna run this tool over here so that I have timeline files in here. So I know if you look at this command, so log to timeline is the tool, and I'm gonna say recursive, file type is F, WinXP. I'm gonna specify the time zone, and I'm gonna point it to where I have mounted the image, and I'm gonna write to a file called supertimeline.csv file.
So you're expecting it to write out the commented images,
Yes.
which gives you other searching capabilities as well.
Right.
With that.
So if you look at the modules that are available in this timeline tool, what it can do is it can generate, you can create a super timeline. The super timeline includes everything. But if you want to just capture specific area of the artifact, you can generate timeline for that specific area as well. So these are different modules that you can, like Firefox 2, Firefox 3, generic Linux, parse content of generic Linux logs that start with MMDD format, NT-user, OpenVPN. So these are different things that it can query in an image and generate a timeline for you for this specific artifact. So, and then it also bundles it. So what you say, okay, I don't want to go just, I know that this is a Windows XP machine, so let's generate timeline with the components that are Windows XP components. So if you look at over here, it bundles it under Windows XP. And under Windows XP, it will generate timeline on these modules. Same in Windows 7, under Windows 7 and web history. If you just want to look at the web history of that person, I'll just provide web hist, and it will generate a timeline for these artifacts only. So let's, because we know it's a Windows XP machine, so let's generate a timeline for Windows XP. So it's gonna go into this directory and parsing all the artifacts and creating a timeline, and it's gonna write into a super timeline.csv file.
You can look at like BIOS data too, because sometimes people will just boot from a USB stick or a CD. They'll never run the operating system
Right.
on the laptop. So
That's a good question.
Yeah. So what's your question?
is there records that are there that are discoverable, or is it?
Yeah. So USB is if you are onto something, want to do something, then yes, USB is a better way. But make sure you destroy the USB after that.
Or live CD.
Or live CD, yes.
So like a Tails live CD to USB, it's basically
Yeah,
unless you get something from another system.
Yeah, or if you save something on the hard disk while you are browsing through that, because I mean you're there. So
If you mount it while you're on live CD.
if you are
it's
mounted on
there.
something, then there's a chance that you leave some trail over there.
You need a powerful computer. Not helpful.
Yeah,
These scripts take a long time.
yeah. I will done. In 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes.
Or use Dell?
Hmm?
Dell?
Yeah, it's a Dell machine, and I'm running this in a VirtualBox. Its host operating system is Debian. So
Performance-wise, is that?
it's okay. It's nothing. It's not an extra. It's an i7
Or would you
processor.
use something like VMware? What would you use VMware?
Yeah, VMware. There's a free version of VMware that I'm using in there, and in VMware I'm using SANS SIFT Workstation Ubuntu. Yeah, I got rid of Windows from my home. My son uses Linux. I use Linux, and if he needs to use Windows, we boot up a virtual machine and then use it.
It's not that necessarily Windows is worse, it's just that it's so much more present, it's more targeted.
Now, if you, I think one of the guys last meeting, he has deployed Pi-hole to look at the traffic on his network with block ads. So I installed Pi-hole in my home network, and my Windows machine sends so much data out that you can see it on the Pi-hole going down. It's very, very noisy, and it sends so much information out.
It's always advertising stuff, that's why I don't know,
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's like,
Yeah.
Mac is the same way. It sends out a
Mac
lot
is
of-
chatty, really?
Yeah, it's very chatty.
Yeah.
Xbox will send sometimes on some games, it wants to know how you play.
Yeah.
So it sends every button you press with a timeline right back.
Yeah.
If you ever set up a Windows 10 machine for the first time, you notice over you see that option to like personalize some data collection options and things like that.
Yeah.
Stuff you share with Microsoft.
Yeah.
You can turn all of those off.
Yeah.
And then compare that with it being off versus being on. It's no difference.
Well, no, what you need to do is there's a, when you install Windows 10, it comes with a lot of pre-installed software, like Xbox is one of them, as you mentioned. So there's a PowerShell script, there's a command. You run that, and what it does is it cleans Windows computer from all those bloatware. And I've seen that makes difference. It removes all those Xbox and all those bloatware from Windows 10 default installation and cleans it up.
I don't use Windows.
Okay.
But my wife does.
So it generated this CSV file, and we can open it up and take a look at it. Right now, this CSV file is not very clean. We need to clean it up a little bit. And for that, we're going to be running another script. But let me show you how does it look like right now. So it goes into that MSF, look at the MFT file, sorry, not MSF, it's MFT. So source type is master file table. So, and this is a time zone. MACB stands for modified, access, create, and born. So these are, and it will tell you the date, the time, when this file was created, which host is created on. This is the shortest version of that file, and all the information. But it's not that easy to look at, so we can make it much more easier to look at. So after running log to file this tool, what we can do is we can run this tool. It's called L2T process. So let me do that really quick. L2T, and we'll provide input the file that we just created, super timeline, and we're gonna move put it out to filtered timeline.csv.
What's that actually filtering?
So it takes all that information and grouped it and make a filtered timeline. You're gonna see the difference now.
Very same CSV file, but it's been processed by this script.
Yes.
All these individual steps you're doing, is there any like tool that sort of combines all this, where you just give it an image and it just munches it automatically?
There is
one big bash script.
yeah, you can do that. I think there is you can write a basket and do it for you. Yeah. So now you can see data filter, auto filter. So now I can actually look at the source type of the data easily. If I want to look at all the URLs.
Oh, you made it into filters up there.
Yes.
At the top.
So now if you look at it, you know, the artifacts that I showed you, prefetch, user assist key, system key, software key, all those things. Now it has categorized everything and all the data, organized it based on the artifacts, and created a timeline for those artifacts. So for example, I want to see what recent documents user has opened and at what time. So I just select this and click over here, and it will show you that user Mr. Evil on this host recently opened these files and at what time, these dates, and these are the times. I can see what registry he deleted, so I can look at deleted registry files if there's any. So he deleted these registry entries. If you run CC Cleaner tool and deleted entries, you can still see what entries were deleted, because they are recorded in MFT file table. The record is there.
Now what if you go ahead and delete your MSFP?
MFT, you cannot delete MFT while the operating system is running.
And boot off a CD?
Boot off a CD, and if you want to do it, then you can do it, but you're going to end up corrupting your machine. It's not going to work anymore.
You can clean it by yourself. It's not sure.
So,
So you can clean it. You can run disk defrag and stuff. And change the
defrag
size.
does not clean the disk, it just reallocates the fragments so that they come in a sequence, because over the period of time what happens is that the fragments on the disk, on the magnetic disk, they scatter all over the, yeah.
MSFT
MFT.
It'll change size.
Yes.
It'll remove the
Yeah,
file
and it
from
make them
the-
contiguous rather than it's all over, spread all over the thing, rather than the spinner move for different sides and move in a sequence.
It's going to be faster because
Yeah.
it's not chasing all over the disk.
Yeah.
So when you, I was asked this question before about
Yes.
when you do a Windows, say Windows 10 machine refresh, where basically you back up the data, but you kind of refresh it so that you give to somebody else or reuse it again. Does that retain the MFT?
Yeah, if you have not done a clean wipe of the disk, secure disk, like using during boot and nuke CD or something like that, then that data is there and that data can be recovered. Yes. So we know that during the case, we know that this guy was using malicious software and he was using wireless hacking, and we've just discovered that he deleted files from this machine and cleared out recycle bin, and the files that he deleted was these NetStumbler, which is wireless scanning tool, WinPCAP, and ethereal setup. So these are the tools that we
Definitely been
discovered.
hacking the wireless
So definitely he's being hacking, he's trying to attempt to hack the wireless network.
That's basically
One of these.
Mm.
Well, also these tools are from '04. I mean, a lot has been Kismet and some of the other
Yeah, this is an old case.
after that. So.
It's an old case, yeah. So this is what his Internet Explorer history looked like. This is what he was looking and using Internet Explorer, all the URLs that he typed in there. So that basically gives you a clue on what this guy was up to, what he was looking. So, so for the triage that you were saying, if you can do everything, there's a tool in, it's called, in SANS SIFT, it's called Manta Ray. This is the tool.
Manta Ray?
Yeah. It's a triage tool, and what it does is you can type in a case number, whatever, and it asks you what type of image you have that you want to analyze. You can say DD image file 001, directory, and so I'll take the default, and I click OK. And then it is asking me, where do you want to output this thing? So I go in there and I create a folder I called, you can name whatever, Mantare. And then what it's gonna do is it's gonna run all these tools, create super timeline, registry hive, Reg Ripper, the tool that we just looked at. It's just gonna automate everything for you. And this tool actually will take some time, depends upon the size of the image, because it's gonna go in, it's gonna do everything for you, and it's gonna put everything into its own folder for you to do the analysis.
The terabyte partition is a little
Yeah.
What are the limits on some of these tools? Like if somebody has a really, really large hard drive, is that a problem for you guys?
No, it's not. I mean, we just need a bigger space bigger hard drive and a lot of time to do that.
Put that into a storage system like Ceph or something, you have the space to put it in.
When you do the image capture, you don't capture the full capacity of the disk, is what you can use.
Yeah. So remember I showed you the file signatures in the presentation. So the tool that is the foremost tool, which is the data carving tool, that actually looks at the signatures, and all those signatures are actually located in this foremost.conf file. If you open up this file, you can see that it can actually look at these files, AOL ARC files, GIF files, and it has all these
Yeah,
signatures. Yep.
So if you had another file that wasn't in the foremost
You can
file,
add it over
you could
there.
add that there,
You
look for
can-
something,
yes.
some other signature that you're looking for.
Yes. So, and you can create your own conf file, and when you're running foremost, you can actually supply the path to your config file, and it will use that config file to carve the data out.
That's one of the option switches we can make it.
So yeah, so you can do the file. I think it's .c option, where you can actually type your thing in.
Oh yeah, for config file.
Yeah, config file. Yeah. So that was a quick overview of how you can use these tools and do forensics work and
A comprehensive quick overview. Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Get a lot of questions, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, if you have any more questions,
We're
please.
trying to figure out how to make it like harder. So what I learned is use tails on a USB stick and boot the tails, don't run off.
Yeah, use anti-forensics mechanisms.
Then only network forensics would get you there.
Yes, network forensics can catch you. There's not 100%,
There is
rescue
nothing.
from there. There's always a way to.
You talked me to look back at the Hack 5 story. You familiar with this?
Yeah.
They had this thing called the USB rubber ducky.
Yes,
We
yeah.
use that. Actually, you know what?
Pineapple.
Rubber
The
ducky.
review is just, I have a little rubber ducky I just connected to it and percolator company. That's all I have to do. Or the Wi-Fi pineapple, you just take it with you to a coffee shop.
Yeah.
You sit it there. And it just sits there and collects passwords.
So rubber ducky is a very interesting tool. It's a specialized USB, and what it is you plug into the computer, and we have used that vector on one of our penetration testing. Those guys were really good. We were not getting into anywhere. I mean, whenever we tried to access, they could block us like that. So what I did is we have the rubber ducky, and we walked around, and we found a user who was not on his seat. His computer was unlocked. I plugged the USB in. So the way rubber ducky works is when you plug it in, it tells the computer that it is a keyboard, not a USB. And it has scripts on it. So once you plug it in, I have my payload on it, and I have my computer connected on the network, the hacking computer, listening for that connection. I plug it in. Computer thought it's a keyboard. It ran the batch script, and it established a connection back to my computer.
And from that point, anything they touch.
And from that point, I have a remote shell on that computer, and I was able to do it. It was like very difficult to do it. I mean, it's not that those people are vulnerable, but it was kind of a thing that we have to do it, otherwise we're gonna look bad.
Well, Dr. Eva, Mr. Eva, for $50 I can buy a Wi-Fi pineapple. It's 10 weekend credit.
Yeah.
I don't need a computer or a laptop or
No,
anything. You can
no,
investigate.
yeah.
I just need to turn this thing on and just link it.
Yeah, I have this, and you can do the rubber ducky thing. Kali, have you ever heard of Kali Net Hunter? So Kali Net Hunter. So Kali, the tool that you use, so they have a version called Net Hunter. It does the same thing. It runs on devices, Google devices, Google phone, what's the Google
Android,
phone? No, they have this device. Yeah, Nexus devices. So Nexus 7 tablet and Nexus 5 phone. You install Kali Net Hunter on it, and it does exactly the same thing as USB rubber ducky. So for the wireless assessment, we use this. This is the Alpha card. This card is injectable. The regular Wi-Fi on your laptop, you cannot inject code through those. So these are designed to do that. And I can put it in, and there is a tool in Kali Linux. It's called Wi-Fi, WIFITE. And I tell it to listen to specific SSID. And what it does is it sends a deauthentication to all the clients that are connecting to that Wi-Fi point. And then they try to connect back.
When they reinitialize
And when they try to connect back, it injects itself in and captures the handshake. even if it's WPA2.
Wi-Fi client is the same way. It listens
Yeah.
for everything it can see. And then it
So
broadcasts on the
what's
same
useful for
password.
like Wi-Fi encryption?
So what's useful is, we get the handshake and then we use aircrack NG to actually perform a dictionary attack on that handshake to get the password. Now, if the password is really simple, then it can be cracked easily with a good dictionary.
That's a
So
good
have a
point, though.
very
That's why
long
you, that's why you
password.
need to
I expected that was
authenticate before you
happening.
encrypt.
So use certificates rather than passwords. Use certificate authentication.
So I mean, I had a password that's a sentence, something to the effect of like, you're a nosy bastard, aren't you? So even if you crack it, then it's like,
Yeah. So
It's on a Windows box with the C dollar shares and all that stuff. You're in. Once you,
So
it's
all
like,
these-
it's like they're on your network.
all these data hacks that you see, all these passwords, these files are then available on the internet, and then you download and make them your dictionary, and use those dictionary to, because most of the time people use the same password.
The only defense against that, like you said, is certificates.
Yes.
Yeah.
Use-
Because
use-
that doesn't have the certificate.
No,
Yeah.
no.
do you
So
guys work with the Frederick County Sheriff's Office at all? Like,
no.
so my son just started working there, and they trained him on how to use one of their systems. This is like horrible, but they have a system that the law enforcement guys use to like track cases and stuff. There's a max password length, not a min length, a max length. You can have your password as short as you want it to be. The administrator can see your password if you ever forget. They can unmask it and tell you what it is. Yeah. And they even, he said they even told him during the training, and this is an easy system to use because if you ever forget your password, just call us and we'll tell you.
Yeah.
And then, and the passwords are case insensitive.
But you need a
Nice.
badge to walk in.
You need a badge to get in there, but once you're in there, case insensitive passwords, maximum length only, and they're easily unmaskable from a third party.
Then this is, I think, is
You don't even need a rubber.
password policy.
The new NIST guidelines about password, those are really weird.
The new ones.
Yeah.
Good.
They did a lot of research. Basically,
Smart. People are dumb, they forget their passwords. So
Yeah,
why
I
is
mean,
it
they
not-
were saying that you don't have to be a complex password, and it's very weird. The new
It's
guidelines.
bad. It's bad for brute force because brute force will work better.
Yeah,
It won't be
that's what I'm saying.
One of the things is like
Get away from
biometrics.
passwords.
Like I talk to the Army all the time, and they're done, but their field service reps are working their hair out. They do not want to go into the field with password or certificate anymore. They say it's too hard
It's all cat.
to maintain it. They want to use like biometrics.
This new one is basically what you're saying. You can remember a nonsensical long sentence that you know. So like, pretty pink ponies at the Purple River, blah blah blah. Like you can invent a word that is like the best password for you, and that's what you should use. So that's what you should use.
What I do is now all my online accounts, I use two-factor authentication. My Google is two-factor authentication. My Twitter is two-factor. I don't use
I've
Facebook.
also heard not to link them. Don't link them.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you link them, then one gets compromised and OAuth 2 will just open the door for everything else.
Yeah,
Which
but
I
that
think
is single sign-on. So if single sign-on, if you have single sign-on capability, that's is dangerous because single sign-on has this flaw. Because if you use one password for everything, you're gonna, if one password compromised, everything gonna get compromised. But two-factor authentication is something you have and something you know. So if you
I
don't,
use one password on the Mac, and then I just randomly generate one of the passwords. So
Yeah.
they're nonsensical.
Yeah.
Characters.
use KeyPass tool. KeyPass is a good tool. I used everywhere. All my passwords are in KeyPass, and I have my file on my encrypted on my cloud. So whenever I need to access it, I can access it everywhere.
Some time ago, I was working at Johns Hopkins. The students in the Midwest were